This is Money, Motivation, and Mike, and I am your host, Michael Wainwright. In charge of all the controls is audio engineer Jason Wright. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. You can contact us at always at info@mx3.vip and find all of our content at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our new content, which comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. And speaking of the YouTube channel and how people have been hitting the bell icon, apparently, Jason, as of the recording of this show, 42,521 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Very, very good.
Very impressive.
Yes. 47,318 views over the last 28 days. Right here on this little Money, Motivation, and Mike peon show that we have going on. Big stuff. Certainly, obviously, blown away by what you continue to show us. And as I said on the last episode, that June the 12th, 1994 was a big day in American history. Not obviously when death comes about, especially in a murder situation, that is a bad thing. But the people versus Simpson, the people of the state of California versus OJ Simpson, changed the way we do a lot of things, in my opinion, and the aftermath of what happened 30 years ago was either very disturbing or maybe very joyful for you, depending on what side of the road that you like to look at. And I recall these days very vividly. And I was in my 20s during the 1990s, and several events that we're going to go back and revisit and rehash, because next year, Jason, in 2025, that's going to be the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombings, which obviously is a huge thing, or it still is. And in 2026, that'll be the 25th anniversary of 9/11, 2001. So lots of things to discuss and continue to discuss. And you know, another subject that we did not do in 2023 was the David Koresh cult down in Waco. That fiasco and what it was. Just lots of different topics that we like to discuss here in the summer here in this particular month. But as we get into the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, which obviously centered around OJ Simpson and what ended up becoming a murder trial where he was acquitted. That's what we're going to talk about for the next couple episodes. And Jason, it took them. The murders happened in June of 94. And I believe he was acquitted October the 3rd, early October of 1995. So we're going to try to do in a couple episodes what it took the state of California almost 18 months to do. Good luck to us. 16 months. So nevertheless, big time stuff. I can still see the Ford Bronco, the white Bronco, going down the highway as I talk to you right now. So we're going to do this in 2 episodes. Right now I'm going to talk about the murders and the 2 victims. And then in the next episode, I don't think I'll get into the trial yet. Maybe lay some groundwork for it. Then we'll get into the murder trial of OJ Simpson on the next episode. So as of the recording of this show, 30 years and 1 day from the murders. And I'm going to start out with someone who, frankly, doesn't get talked about a whole lot. And that is Ronald Goldman. Now, because of this, obviously Nicole Brown Simpson, OJ's wife, who was the target in all of this, and Ronald Goldman would, in essence, was an innocent bystander. We've talked more about his father, Fred Goldman, in the last 30 years than we have Ronald Goldman. And everyone can still see Fred Goldman at all of, I don't want to call it an event, but the trial, the civil trial, sometimes he's been recorded and interviewed during anniversaries of this time of when the first degree murders happened. Everybody can see his glasses, his gray mustache, on and on and on. So we're gonna continue to dive into this particular subject over the next couple of weeks. But Ronald Lyle Goldman, he was born July the 2nd, 1968. So he's just 6 months older than I am. And he was an American restaurant waiter, and as a lot of people are in the LA area, trying to become an actor or actress. And that's where he was as well. He's also a working volunteer with children suffering from cerebral palsy. Goldman appeared as a contestant on the short-lived game show Studs in early 1992. And in 1994, Goldman became a friend of Nicole Brown Simpson, the ex-wife of the American football player OJ Simpson. Now, I'm going to continue on with him here momentarily, but our other person of topic today, Nicole Brown Simpson, born May the 19th, 1959. Now, obviously, both deceased June the 12th, 1994. Nicole was the second wife of O.J. Simpson. They met in 1997, and they were married in 1985, 5 years after Simpson had retired from playing professional football. Their marriage lasted 7 years. They had a daughter and a son. Brown was emotionally, verbally, and physically abused by Simpson. She once called the police multiple times within a short period of over a month. His abuse, but he was the only one arrested. One time, and all this stuff was he arrested. 1989, pleading no contest of spousal abuse, Brown dropped the charges after her parents encouraged her to reconcile with Simpson. In 92, Brown finally filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Simpson continued to abuse Brown after their separation and divorce. Back over to Ronald Goldman. June the 12th, 1994, it was an evening, Sunday evening. Goldman worked as a server at the Missoula restaurant in Brentwood, California. Nicole Brown, called to report that her mother had inadvertently dropped her reading glasses outside by the gutter where they dined there earlier that evening. Goldman had not been their server, but after a search by the restaurant, the glasses turned up. Goldman agreed, at Brown's request, to drop them off at her home after work. The Los Angeles Times reported that Goldman punched out at 9:33 p.m. and stayed another 15 minutes, had a bottle of water at the bar. He was not intoxicated at all. He made plans to go out with the restaurant's bartender, Stuart Tanner, later that evening. Before returning the glasses, Goldman stopped by his Brentwood apartment at 11663 Gorman Avenue. He then walked approximately 10 minutes to Brown's condominium. Goldman and Brown were stabbed to death on the walkway leading to the condominium at 875 South Bundy Drive. Their bodies were discovered shortly after midnight. During a reconstruction of the events, the police theory that Brown and Goldman were talking when they were attacked, or that Goldman arrived while Brown was being attacked. In any case, the police believe that Brown was the intended target and that Goldman was killed in order for his silence. Witness Robert Headstra testified that while walking near Brown's condominium that night, he heard a man yelling, "Hey, hey, hey," who was then shouted by a second man. Goldman's family came to believe that Ron was the man shouting, "Hey, hey, hey," and that he may have attempted to save Brown by interfering in the attack. Goldman was 20 days shy of his 26th birthday when he died, and he is buried at Pierce Brothers Valley Oak Memorial Park in Westlake Village, California. Goldman's also from Illinois, but he was buried, like I say, right there in the LA area. The rights to the Simpson book. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up in the Goldman part is because, if you recall, in a civil trial in 1997, the Goldmans, definitely Ron's father, Fred, filed the civil lawsuit against Simpson, and he was found guilty of wrongful death. The Goldmans ended up with a lot of rights and a lot of items that were at one time OJ Simpson's, including the rights to Simpson's book, If I Didn't Do It, a first-person account of how he would have committed the murders. That book was awarded to the Goldman family in August of 2007. Now, Jason, you have been tried for murder and acquitted. Your mother of your children at this moment, and your ex-wife, not your wife, has been murdered. It's got to be a very, very difficult time for you, for the rest of your life, for that matter. And I remember OJ saying he was going to find the murderers after he was acquitted. How do you have the audacity? How do you have the wherewithal to go out and write a book? Well, if I had murdered my wife, my ex-wife, the mother of my children, this is how I would have done it. It makes no sense to me at all. But this particular book, they were granted to the Goldmans, and the proceeds of the book, as part of a multi-million-dollar civil jury award against OJ. They've been trying to collect this money for a decade. They also acquired Simpson's name, likeness, life story, and right for publicity in connection with the book, If I Had Did It. They renamed the book, If I Had Did It, Confessions of the Killer. The Goldman family published the book in September of 2007. Now, Denise Brown, Nicole Brown's sister, criticized the Goldmans for publishing the book and accused them of profiting from Nicole and Ron's deaths. When filmmaker Ezra Edelman, director of documentary OJ Made in America, which, by the way, is a good documentary. When OJ Made in America won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, he dedicated the award to both Goldman and Brown in his acceptance speech. Fred Goldman was among those whom Edelman interviewed in the documentary. In an interview with Barbara Walters, Fred Goldman said that shortly after Simpson's acquittal, he was approached by a stranger who offered to sell him an untraceable high-profile rifle to kill Simpson or to hire someone to kill Simpson for him. But Goldman refused. In an interview on 2020, Kim Goldman said that one day, sometime after Simpson's acquittal, she was driving in her car when she saw OJ in a parking lot in Los Angeles. She considered in her mind running him over to get vengeance, but decided against it otherwise. But actually, those thoughts continue to go through their minds. In 2022, Fred Goldman applied for a renewal of his owed judgment against Simpson, claiming Simpson still owed him $96 million. Hey, they took his Heisman Trophy and auctioned it off. And I mean, a lot of assets that he had. When Simpson died in 2024, What was that? April the 10th, 2024, Jason. When Simpson died on April the 10th, 2024, Fred Goldman initially called Simpson's death no great loss to the world, but also said it was further just a reminder of how long my son has been gone, how many years, how much he's been missed, and the only thing that is important today are Ron and Nicole. Nothing else is important. Kim and Fred, Ron's mother Kim and Fred later issued a statement that read, "The hope for true accountability has ended." Now, I believe they have some accountability. They got accountability during the civil trial. He just didn't go to jail for it. He just didn't pay probably the way the Goldman family thought he should have. Who knows? Now, in this book, If I Did It, now listen to this. In quotation, "Nicole, Jesus, I looked down and saw her on the ground in front of me, curled up in a fetal position at the base of the stairs, not moving. Goldman was only a few feet away, slumped against the bars of the fence. He wasn't moving either. Both he and Nicole were lying in giant pools of blood. I had never seen so much blood in my life. It didn't seem real, and none of it computed. If I had did it, Confessions of a Killer, page 81, OJ Simpson." That was his quote. Now, did you know that Brown and Goldman had only known each other for like 6 weeks?
I did not.
They had just met. Okay. In Nicole's final days, on March the 6th, 1994, Brown and her children attended the premiere of Simpson's newest film. Now remember, OJ was a professional football player, played a long time for the Buffalo Bills, ended his career with San Francisco 49ers, but he always wanted to be a movie star. So he was in the film Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult. Another one of those goofy movies, which I like, the Police Academy movies. Brown met 25-year-old restaurant waiter Ronald Goldman 6 weeks prior to their deaths. According to police and friends, they had a friendly relationship, occasionally meeting for coffee and dinner. Goldman borrowed Brown's Ferrari when he met a friend for lunch. That friend, Clegg Clark, stated that Goldman told him they were just friends and that the car belonged to Nicole Simpson. This right here is very interesting as well. Just one day before the murders, Brown and her close friend, Kris Jenner. Got to be a Jenner involved. And remember, frankly, there's got to be a Kardashian involved. Obviously, Chris's name before Jenner was Kardashian. And remember, Robert Kardashian was one of his attorneys. Brown and her close friend, Kris Jenner, spoke on the phone, making plans to go to lunch the next day. Kris said in an interview that Nicole wanted to confide in her about something very important and possibly reveal information about her volatile relationship with Simpson. But Brown was murdered that evening before they could meet. At the time of Simpson's death, June 12, 1994, Brown resided at 875 South Bundy Drive in Bentwood, Los Angeles, California, with her 2 children. On the evening of June 12th, Brown took Sydney and a friend out to dinner after the children's dance recital. The night that Brown and Goldman were stabbed to death outside the home. Their bodies were found shortly after midnight. Brown was lying, as we've talked about, in a fetal position in a pool of blood. The autopsy determined autopsy determined that she had been stabbed 7 times in the neck and scalp and sustained 5.5-inch gash across her throat. That's some fearsome people or person. I mean, you're not there just to kill someone. You're there to inflict pain and suffering. And I would assume that after a couple of these stabbings, you basically are now dead. And a person just continues to go after you. 7 times in the neck. Both her left and right arteries around her neck, obviously cut, and they breached her right and left jugular veins. The wound on Brown's neck penetrated 3/4 of an inch into her vertebrae, nearly decapitating her. She also had defense wounds on her hands. I mean, you're there to do it mafia style. Brown's funeral was held on June 16th at St. Martin of Tours Catholic Church in Brentwood. The mourners included the Simpsons and their 2 children, members of the Brown family, Al Cowlings. How about old Al, Big Al? You know, he was very good friends with both. Very good friend, even though he was brought into the relationship by OJ, the driver of the Ford Bronco. House guest Cato Caitlin. Really haven't talked about Cato, and I don't know that I'm going to. He's not but he was a house guest and became friends with her. And Steve Garvey of all people, was at the funeral. Now, the reason I bring up Steve Garvey is I was a huge Steve Garvey fan growing up. Played for the Los Angeles Dodgers, played first base, was Mr. Clean Cut, etc., etc. Brown was buried in the cemetery at Lake Forest, California. Let's go back over here and just talk about a couple of different things. Let's go back to the Kardashians and Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner named her 4th daughter Kendall Nicole Jenner after Brown. Kendall was born 17 months after Brown's death. 2 years after the deaths of Brown and Goldman, the townhouse at 875 South Bundy was sold and extensively remodeled by the new owner, who also had the address changed. And the city went along with that by allowing the address to be changed. Now, going back over here, and obviously there was a lot of abuse in that relationship. Let's talk about that just for a few moments here. And at the time of their separation, Simpson had informed Brown of an ongoing one-year extramarital affair with a lady. I'm not going to mention that name. In January of 92, Brown moved into a rental house in Brentwood, a neighborhood of L.A., 4-bedroom, Tudor-style house, 3,400 square feet on Greenway. That's where she lived for 2 years. Simpson then filed for divorce February the 25th, 1992, once again citing irreconcilable differences. They then shared custody of their children, Sydney Brooke, age 7, and Justin Ryan, age 4. Following their divorce, reports suggest that in 1993, after the divorce, Brown and Simpson made an attempt to reconcile. During this time, Simpson continued his abuse of Brown. Brown told her mother after the divorce that Simpson was following her, going to gas stations. He's here, going to Payless Shoe Store. Followed her to Payless Shoe Store. And then he's there. He's just driving and following her. On October the 25th, 1993, Brown called the police to report Simpson being violent again after he allegedly found a photo of a man Brown had dated while they were broken up. Audio released during the murder trial of OJ Simpson revealed that Brown called 911 crying and saying that Simpson was going to beat the blank out of me, as actually was her quote. Simpson angrily shouted in the background, "You did not give blank about these kids. Then you were having sex with this boyfriend in the living room, and they were here. Didn't care about the kids then, don't care about them now." When the police arrived, Brown secretly recorded by Sergeant Craig Lally. "He gets very animalistic. Look at him," Brown stated. "All the veins pop out. His eyes are black and just black. I mean cold, like an animal. I mean very, very weird. And when I see it, it scares me." Brown also stated Simpson had not hit her in 4 years. That relationship was violent for a long time. By the way, did you know Nicole Brown Simpson was born in Frankfurt, West Germany? I'm sure her father, maybe this is 1959, maybe her father was stationed over there. Not really for sure about that. But this all lays the groundwork in these deaths, which became a very small part of that whole story in 94 and 95, because it all came about leading up to the murder trial of OJ Simpson and then a civil trial just a couple of years later. So moving forward on the next episode, we will start with the people of the state of California versus OJ Simpson in the criminal trial, Los Angeles County Superior Court. It was submitted on June the 16th, 1994. The trial started January the 24th, 1995, and it was decided October the 3rd, 1995. We will discuss first-degree murder charges on the next episode of Money, Motivation, and Mike. As always, please, I expect we're going to get some emails on this particular topic. Jason, info@mx3.vip, and then, of course, you can find all of our content all the way back to episode number 1, going on 2 years ago, at mx3.vip, and, of course, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can continue to get all of our content, which, as you know, comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. So I will be also stating probably the obvious, but I'll also be stating what I believe, my public opinion of whether OJ was guilty or innocent. I'm sure that's just going to be like who shot J.R. Ewing back in 1979. Everybody's going to be on pins and needles waiting for me to tell them what I believe happened in the verdict. So, until next time, continue to live your life the right way.